Hey, it's Bob. Welcome back to my channel. So today I just wanted to give a life update about taking a break from social media. I just recently did it about 2 weeks ago. So I actually have 5 of the reasons why I decided to take a break from social media, as well as 5 of the observations that I've noticed since deactivating most of my accounts. So I just wanted to share those with you and give you also a little bit of the experience of deactivating versus deleting in case that's something you're interested in yourself. So in terms of the actual process, I had started by not deleting the apps from my phone first, and mainly Facebook and Twitter. So I did that in January just because I was kind of like wanted to be like Zen and detox from everything. I was doing sober January. I have a video about that, and that actually went really well. And so I kind of just wanted to get on that and definitely not be so distracted. So I only had Instagram on my phone, but then a couple weeks ago, I noticed that I was spending up to 30 minutes a day on Instagram, and that's kind of a lot when you actually think about things that you're always saying you don't have time to do, which is kind of the story of my life. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, if I have 30 minutes a day to scroll through feeds of, aside from a handful of friends and family that I actually care about what they're doing, it's like what I really kind of wasn't happy about was just, following either celebrities or companies and things that I was like, do I really need to like be getting these messages on a daily basis instead of maybe, my original plan was just to go on the computer and then be like, okay, when I'm working, I can just, but then obviously I kind of started realizing that it's like, maybe that's not the best idea, mainly because I just didn't want there to be a, Bob Gramacha's Facebook and a Bob Gramacha's Instagram and all that. Because when I do end up taking a break from that, like on Facebook, I would see messages that I didn't receive and it looks like I'm ignoring somebody or something like that, when it's not that at all. It's just that I hadn't gone on Facebook. And then when you don't go on, your notifications are all stuff that mean nothing. It's like the notification thing, I think, for Facebook is one of the main turnoffs for me, because it's just like there were notifications that, again, like mean nothing to me. It wasn't that somebody commented this or that. And also the reach, like there's no reach on Facebook for organic posts. You can look at articles and find out for yourself. Huge companies are aware of that. That's why they spend tons of money putting their ads in the ad manager and all that stuff. So, and knowing that from my work life, I realized that it's kind of, it's just at this point, it's not what it used to be, which was, a place to express yourself and all that stuff. So I basically made the decision to get rid of all of them, deactivate. And again, so Facebook and Instagram, I was able to deactivate. They didn't mention anything about eventually deleting my data. So I still wanted to keep that around just in case I changed my mind or there was something that I wanted to go back and save, or I wanted to take screenshots of all the photos that I wanted to keep and put them in a hard drive or on the cloud or something like that. Twitter, when I went on, it said that after 30 days, my data would be deleted. So I actually did back up my data, and it basically just gives you an Excel and a few other things that have your tweets and all that stuff. And so to that point, I was kind of like, well, if I can basically get my tweets back and backed up and I could always look at them, I don't really necessarily feel like I may need to be on there. Again, mainly just because I don't even use them enough to really justify having them. It's really just sucking up a lot of my time and energy. And okay, so getting on to the 5 reasons why, I basically piggybacking off of what I just said, I didn't really miss most of them on my phone. So I think that that was definitely a really important motivation for me to just kind of get rid of them. Because it's like, if I actually, if I was like dying to get back on, it's like I probably would have been like, okay, let me be a little bit more proactive or whatever. But the fact that I really didn't care was a real motivator to just be like, okay, let me just get done with it, because I feel like I would be a lot happier just not having to deal with any of it. You know what I mean? And the second reason for me, which is probably the biggest one, is time management. So again, like I said, when I was considering deleting it, I looked up the analytics and I saw that it was about 26 minutes, I think, that I would spend on Instagram. And it wasn't even, this wasn't even a time that I've been very active on Instagram. I actually was pretty chilled, and I've been pretty much home and mainly working this past month or two. So it was like if I'm spending 30 minutes on like an off day where I'm not even posting or sharing, it's like God knows, when I'm actually sharing stuff and engaged, there's probably a lot more than that. And having my own business and being in charge of my own income, it's a lot very stressful. So for me, you're much more focused on where your time goes and where you lose time so that you don't lose time and so that you're not stressed out. So time management was definitely a big one. And again, another huge one is the fake news and the ads. So I kind of already touched upon the ads. I really find it annoying when you go on these platforms and all you get is commerce, and it's like, cool. Like I'm a member of Amazon Prime. So it's like, I'm all for a deal of the day and all that stuff. But like, I'd rather go in and do that myself. If I'm talking to a girlfriend on my couch about a freaking like neck massager and then I go on Instagram an hour later and see an ad for a neck massager, it makes me not want to do business with the company. It makes me want to do what I did, which is deactivate my accounts. Why? Because it's freaky. I didn't type it anywhere. I said it. So they must have gotten it from Siri or something like that. So it's like, I don't want to play that game. I haven't done the DNA testing. Call me like a conspiracy theorist, or I'm not really, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not into that. Like even from a marketing perspective, I don't know how, I don't think it bodes well for a brand to be using people's data surreptitiously to try and get them to buy stuff. It's not me. It's not what I represent. I don't like it. And I don't like it when it's happening to me. So that was a really strong, compelling reason. And then from a psychological perspective, I definitely find myself comparing myself to others. So it's like, sometimes I work on the weekend, sometimes I'm exhausted from my work week. So I don't really do a lot. Like, I don't go to bars and stuff like that. Like, I'll go to dinner with friends or like, go hang out with my family during the day and stuff like that. Like, that's really all my weekend consists of, having a good meal and all that stuff and chilling. And of course I do like, now that it's not sober January anymore, having a good glass of wine and that sort of thing, kicking back, cooking, listening to music, you know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of thing I like to do on the weekends. But I always found myself going on to, especially like Instagram, and you're just seeing that people are like all over the place, going to like every single event, like being out and about and all that stuff. And so it's like those times that I am kind of lonely into myself and thinking that it's like I want to meet people and all that, and I'm bored. That's kind of where, when I go on Instagram, I'm like, well, everybody's doing something right and I'm doing something wrong. And that's not even necessarily the case. It's just that, I could be posting things that I do. Like what I do sometimes is I'll post, when I'm going for a jog on the Venetian Causeway. And that's like a nice place to jog. So I'm sure people see that and it's like, oh, it looks like you're on vacation and all that, when really I'm kind of just like working out. So I could see how you could see somebody else's feed and internalize it, because I do it. And so that was kind of like, from a psychological perspective, more of the detox that I was looking for, where it's like, figure out what I'm happy about with my life and not really worry about what other people are doing. That's the advice I've gotten my entire life, never to worry about what other people are doing. So I mean, again, unless you're assessing competitors from a business perspective or something like that, or, seeing what people are searching for when you're trying to create content, I don't really see why I need to know so much about what other people are doing with their lives. And not to mention the fact that they don't post the negative. So, and I'm not even really into that anyway. Like, I don't like, crying videos and all that stuff. Not to say I wouldn't do it, probably, I don't know, but it's just not my thing. It's not what I gravitate toward. I tend to like get really down. If I see somebody really down, I feed off that energy. So I try and like be around energy that promotes more, an even keel and, that sort of thing, and happiness and all that. Not to say I don't like difficult subjects. I just compartmentalize that. So I don't want necessarily messages like that in my face. So I get why people don't want to post all this negative stuff. But for me, it could become negative when people are posting positive things, because the other thing is, it's like you hear one story from people that are actually at an event, and then you see photos of the event and you're like, wow, it doesn't look like anything bad happens. And you hear like these crazy drama and all that stuff. So that kind of started making me realize that it is, like I've said in another video, it's a funhouse mirror of society. It's like completely distorted and not reality. And I think it's dangerous to let yourself think that that's reality, because at least in my experience, it gets me down in a way that I don't really need in my life. And the fifth reason for getting rid of the social media is also I don't express myself that well on social media. you can tell right now, I'm obviously pretty long-winded. I've only been through 5 reasons why, and it's been like already a few minutes. Like I'm only halfway through, by the way. And so, what I think is like a freaking brilliant like thought, may not get any love. And like I've done research for clients in terms of social, and you realize that a lot of it is just like you posted it at the wrong time, or you didn't use a hashtag, or you didn't use the correct hashtag, or, like the sentiment online is like very, full of like trolls and haters and all that. So it's like, you're also very much getting mixed signals. So I think that it's like, it's better for me to not try to put my thoughts into like really small posts. And again, for something like that actually requires thought, it's better for me to do something like this, where it's like, I have all the time in the world. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But I'm going to create it and edit it, and that's the end of it, and it's a little bit more, focused. It's a little bit more intentional. And I think it's a lot harder, unless you get a snippet of what you want to hear, it's a lot harder to really misconstrue a 10 to 15 minute video on a subject versus a tweet or an Instagram post that could obviously be taken completely out of context. So I guess you could say it's context, the context of the posting, and what the context in your head versus the context of how it appears on somebody's feed are two completely different things. And so that sort of miscommunication is something I'm definitely trying to avoid. And now I'm going to get on to the 5 observations that I've experienced being 2 weeks out of actually deactivating, not just deleting the apps, but deactivating the accounts. So not having messaging that I check on my computer, not going into a freaking anonymous account that nobody knows about, like none of that. Just like being completely off it. And for work, I haven't necessarily had to, other than LinkedIn, which LinkedIn is one of the few things that I kept, but I need that for work. And that's really important because that's really basically your professional portfolio. And being a consultant, that's really important for me because that really kind of shows my actual network to people that are considering working with me. But my first observation was I felt 100% lighter. Like it's like, there was, I don't know, I wouldn't even say it was constant negativity, but it's just, when you, like, for example, when I did Sober January, like the thing that I noticed is that the relaxing part may be the physical aspect of not drinking, but it's also the alleviation of not thinking about having, a glass of wine or something like that. Like knowing that it's just off the table, it just becomes like natural again. And it doesn't become a question of missing out or doing, right or doing wrong, or you're just completely removing it from the equation. And that, like, for me at least, I'm the type, like, I went without cable. I got like Hulu, the streaming one now, so I consider that pretty much cable because it's streaming live television. But I got that like 3 or 4 months ago. But other than that, I pretty much went 5 years without cable. And that was something that really made me feel a lot lighter and more productive and stuff like that too, for obvious reasons. But when your brain isn't thinking about that, it's free. And so you're able to think about things that you actually want to think about. And again, I like my pet projects and my passion projects, including this YouTube. Like, it doesn't make me any type of money or anything like that, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy writing and doing poetry and that sort of thing. And so the second observation is I started reading more, which is something that's so beneficial. As a writer, the more I read, the better I write. So literally the first day when I didn't have, it's kind of vulgar, but when I didn't have Instagram to scroll through on the toilet, I grabbed a magazine that I had for literally a month, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read it. I put it on this table. So when I'm eating dinner, sometimes I'll flip through a magazine, or if I buy the paper on Sunday, I'll leave it around and I'll get to it. But I think that not having the social media, it's like first thing in the morning, instead of getting messages from, whatever, what people did last night and things that I may not care about, I'm going in and I'm actually reading. And print is very different from digital, because digital, you're constantly getting messages, where on print, it's very finite. Whatever advertising is already baked in. It's very easy to just turn the page. You don't really have to pay too much attention. And your eyeballs aren't freaking straining and going crazy with the light. So that's kind of a really good thing. And again, reading more is always good, I think, for everybody. And to the point of the light from the phone, the third observation is it's a lot easier to disconnect from my phone before bed. I think that for everybody's sleep hygiene goals, it's like, oh, you don't want to bring your phone to bed. You want to get a normal alarm clock and all that stuff. I'm not that deep because, again, now, especially without the social media, I'll probably end up being on my computer before and leaving my phone on my night table just to use the alarm to wake up. But, my texts go through on my MacBook and all that stuff. So, like usually I'll just finish either working or setting up my day or kind of like doing stuff online. And that's already like, once I disconnect from that, I'm pretty much good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to go into my phone anymore for any reason. And, I've said goodnight, like to my mom and all that stuff. So that's pretty much the number one thing I have to do before bed. And the fourth thing is that I've noticed that it's really motivating me to have more interactions with people outside of digital. So like this, for example, is a community building exercise, I would say, doing YouTube because people see it and all that, but it's different because it's me basically doing a presentation and then sharing it and other people can look at it or not in their own time. And then the comments is more where I would say it's more similar to social media. But realistically, like the interactions I was having on social media were so not like authentic and real. Like, like South Beach, you walk a lot. So it's like, I will literally have just liked somebody's photo and the next day see them on the street and we literally won't even acknowledge each other. And it's like, and I'm like definitely socially awkward. So I completely take the blame for it and all that. And I'm sure they probably think, I'm just rude or something like that. I don't necessarily take it that way when other people, I'm assuming they probably just don't really want to stop and chat. A good nod and a good hey is usually fine with me. But again, I usually don't even get that far depending on how awkward I feel. But that it makes it awkward. It's like having this weird virtual like social interaction that doesn't translate into actual interaction. To me it's like disconcerting. Like it's not okay. You know what I mean? Like it's like, it just feels like that's probably why I don't meet as many people as I think I should, because I think I know a lot of people. But then when the second you're off that, you realize that it's like, okay, only people that have my actual phone number can text me or call me, or people that have my email can reach out to me. You know what I mean? Or people, again, on Facebook or go on one of my websites. Like, of course, there's a few ways that you can reach me, but I think that it requires a little bit more effort and it requires a little bit more intimacy. And I think that that's what I'm looking for. I guess you could say it like vets your communications, where social media, it's like willy-nilly. You can just go out there and say whatever you want to whoever you want. And I don't really think that's cool. And for the final one, I would definitely say it is definitely a lot easier to focus. That's not only just being able to read more, it's just, and I had already taken off notifications, so I didn't even have those. But even if you don't have notifications, you have the compulsion to check. And so without the compulsion to be checking your feed, I think that makes it a lot easier to focus on other things, and to me, it's like, I am a goal-oriented person and I do want to do things with my free time. And this is something that I'm doing on my own time. And yeah, it does require work, but it's something that I'm at least passionate about enough to follow through with. Whereas in social media, I don't even post that much. So it's like, there really isn't even a reason for me to be on there as much as I am, except for like freaking lurking on other people's posts and like, living through them. So, but yeah, that's basically it. I feel like it was a good decision. Again, it's only been 2 weeks. If I do decide to get back on, I'll probably do another video. But again, I'm definitely going to keep on YouTube. I feel like I'm getting more YouTube done. One of the final things I'll say is that what's interesting from doing this, I did the Sober January, and if you watch that video, it's almost the same exact goals that I had, which was better focus, spending more time on work, getting projects that I really want to do off the ground and all that. And not to say I didn't, I did, have a lot of work focus and all that. And I was really happy to have done the sober kick and all that. But I would say that this social media break has made me 1,000 times more productive than, for example, not drinking or those other kind of behavioral things. Like, I didn't even drink that much, I think, to make it actually affect my everyday life. I think that was more just in my head. And, there's other things like calories and different things that I was concerned about there. But with social media, I would say that the effect is not only immediate, but it's compounding. Like, it's like the more that I'm like not caring or not involved with what's going on, like on Instagram, it's kind of just changing my perception of things, of people, and really with what I want to do with my life and also how I want to approach people. So that's like my little nugget of wisdom. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you've taken a social media break and you want to share your experience, definitely do so in the comments below. I love to have conversations about this sort of thing. And if you want to see more videos of this, hit the subscribe button. Thanks.